Hi, everybody. How are you tonight? I hope y'all doing well. I'll give you a few seconds to get on or a few minutes to get on. I'm running a couple minutes early or a couple seconds early, whatever it is. I don't know. Anyway, hi, everybody. All right. So while I'm waiting for people to come on, I'm going to play a little bit of Poor Heart by whoever it is on Spelling on the Stone. The song is from that. Hi, Sandy. How are you tonight?
Poor heart, don't stop breaking. Poor heart, don't start making a scene. I know things will get better. Till then, in this together with me. You gotta be strong, poor heart. You gotta hang on, poor heart. Gotta be long, and the tears will go away. I didn't know
Hi, everybody. How
she'd
are you
leave,
tonight?
so don't you dare blame me.
Oh, good.
Poor heart, I'll pull
No
you
problem.
through this thing.
Why is recording on?
Poor heart, don't start breaking. Poor heart, don't start making a scene. I know things will get better. Till then, in this together with me. Don't give up. Poor heart, it's all for love. Poor heart, I know it's rough. What you're going through.
All right, halfway done. How we doing tonight? Good, I hope. Everybody's doing good. All right. All right, so we're gonna start with our the other half of the chapter called I can't remember what I'm talking about here. Sorry. Can't remember the name of it. That's pretty bad. Treasures. There we go. All right. We're going to read the other half of Treasures. We're almost at we're past the middle of this book, which is good. We're almost there. Let me find my spot here. Okay. All right, just wanted to let you guys know our channel is 902 subscribers. So we'll get 98 more to go before we hit the 1,000 mark, where we'll have a special celebration on our live streams for that when we get to that milestone. Hi, Dolores. How are you tonight? Good, I hope. All right. Okay, so I'm going to actually start this because there is a lot here. All right. And she has a lot of information here. So I'm going to just start where we left off here. If I can find it. Okay, right here. All right. So Elvis starts to plan. Now we left off with him possibly cleaning house. Many of the Memphis Mafia members were fired. And then he was making major changes in his life. And we're going to go over that just a little bit before I go into the next section. All right. So she was talking about here. Let me see if I can finish here. He began to clean house for this was about the same time he fired Red and Sonny West and Dave Hebler. And all have been with him for years, with Red going all the way back to high school. And little by little, one by one, the Memphis Mafia was to be no more. And it said Red, Sonny, and Dave never understood why, and since it was well recognized that Elvis was a born planner, it just wasn't making any sense. What was happening? Dee and Vernon Presley were no longer a marital team. Linda Thompson, Elvis's girlfriend after his divorce from Priscilla, was no longer around. It was obvious Elvis Presley was making major changes in his life, that his plans were both secret and surprising. Was what was not obvious was why. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next slide here, and what he revealed, actually, what Larry Geller revealed in I'm going to enlarge this so I can, if I can dream. All right, which I have a copy of the book right here from this book here, If I Can Dream. All right. Okay. So it says on May 20th, 1977, this is the conversation that happened between Elvis and Larry Geller, and maybe a couple other people that were in the room, but mostly Larry Geller. He says, "What I'm about to tell you is top secret," he said slowly, "and I don't want you to tell anyone but dot dot dot." He paused and, stammering slightly, said, "I'm going to get rid of the old colonel. I need a change, new blood. I've always been loyal to the colonel, and I appreciate what he's done, but nothing can last forever. The times are changing, and I don't think the colonel is up to date with what's going on like Tom Hewlett is. I've had it with him." Then he went on and said, "I also want a different lifestyle. I don't want the Memphis Mafia anymore," he said disdainfully. "I don't need that scene anymore. I had it with all the little jealousies, the infighting. I know who my real friends are, and I want to live a different kind of life. This one has gone on long enough." Now, if that's not enough of a hint, after the next tour, he said, or the one after that, I'm not sure, not sure yet, but by the end of summer, it will happen. A drastic cut. Daddy's been on me a long time about it. This will make him very happy. He feels too many people have taken advantage of me for too long. Elvis then listed the guys who'd be fired and asked Charlie and me, so Charlie Hodge was in the room, to promise not to say a word. When he finished, opened his eyes wide in mock astonishment, as if to say, "Isn't this a surprise?" And that was on page 275 of this book, If I Can Dream. Now, the reason why I read this is because that is an indicator right there that he had plans. I mean, there is a little hint right here. He's saying the end of summer it will happen. What will happen? Obviously, the end of summer, he staged his death, and everybody basically got a drastic cut. Nobody got employed by then. I think Vernon kept only like maybe one or two people on maximum on the payroll to help him out or whatever. But that was it. I mean, Okay. So the reason why I showed this to you is because she was talking about those major changes in his life, the housekeeping, and this kind of went along with it. Okay. So many biographers talk about the fact that Elvis Presley possessed an uncanny sense of timing, almost perfection. Elvis chalked this up to having studied numerology. Certain events would be successful if enacted at a particular time. That's why August 16th, 1977 was the perfect day. He also said that August 16th, 1977 was a perfect day in his book, The Truth About Elvis Aaron Presley, in his own words, which I have two reels of reading the introduction to this book on this channel. I also have a whole series of live videos reading this book or summarizing this book in the best way I can. I think in 8 episodes probably. That talk about all the what's in that book and everything. Okay, so if anyone's interested, they can look at those old videos. All right, and that is why it's the perfect day. But he also knew that in order to have for one thing to happen, you must do something else first. Okay, so August 16th, 1977 was not the end of Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley is the cause of Elvis Presley, the persona, the mystique, the uniqueness. Elvis became the Elvis he wanted to become. It would be in total character if that Elvis was no longer appealing to pull a reverse to un-Elvis himself. So what she's saying is he kills the image, he stays alive, and he reinvents himself as somebody else. So she said he was living already like two people in one, and it began when he was born, a twin he believed to be identical, a part of him that died before having a chance at life. Major studies have been done on twins and the amazing bonding. Even twins separated at birth without knowledge of such a twinship go through life in search of and with a feeling of having a part of them missing. That's the credible feeling, particularly in the case of identical twins who are created from one egg, which divides into two identical halves. This recalls a conversation in which Orion the singer, that she had with Orion the singer on the telephone, and where he spoke, identical twins come from one egg, Orion said. At the moment of conception, there is just one soul, but the egg divides and becomes two people. Now, I believe the soul divides two, and each half going into a different body. If one of the identical bodies dies at birth, I believe the soul of the dying twin goes back to the living twin's body, which means the living twin will have twice the talent, twice the fame, yet twice the sorrow, and twice the pain. And the conversation plays over and over in my mind, particularly because it occurred long before most of the biographical books on Elvis were released. Books which not only emphasize the deep sense of loss Elvis felt about his missing twin, but also how Elvis felt completely comfortable leading a double life. So many of Elvis's biographers have discussed his twin feeling of being both powerful and powerless. On one hand, he had, as Elaine Dundee wrote in Elvis and Gladys, dominated over death. He was the one who survived, while at the same time had been powerless to save his brother. And he probably harbored guilt. He had lived, and Jesse Guerin had not. And it's true, he did carry that guilt with him. He always asked God, why did you take him and leave me here? He always felt guilty that his brother died before he was born, but he lived, and he felt like it was his fault that his brother died in the womb or being born, one of the two. He took a lot of guilt with him on that. And also he felt bad because his mom had to deal with a loss of one child, but still had to take care of the twin. Um, and he was also very, very close to his mother because his mother was afraid that he was going to die too. So it was all part of that. They call it the twinless twin syndrome. He also said it in his book, The Truth About Elvis Aaron Presley, in his own words, that he, when he died, took on his brother's identity so his brother could live. He said he was with him spiritually. That matches this account here. All right. So Elvis, like most of us growing up in his 40s and 50s, found it imagination fired by a comic book and radio heroes of the day. So many of these comic book heroes possess double identities, like Clark Kent by day, Superman by night. And I think of the singer Orion and his mask, I am reminded of many of the comic book heroes Elvis admired who wore masks. Coincidence? So if there were two Orions, each with a mask, then the deception spills over into my life. I do not I do know that at least one Orion is a man named Jimmy Ellis, but the other? The truth is extensively researched and underscored in Elvis and Gladys, where it tells of Elvis' twin fusion with Captain Marvel Jr. Marvel was a hero of one hand, but on the other hand lived a normal life as the meek Freddie Freeman. Elvis was so captivated by this comic book hero that it was Captain Marvel Jr. who sculpted Elvis's authoritative stance, leg exultant, wide apart, and graceful gestures of his hands, flat palms flat, fingers outstretched, thumbs extended. It was Captain Marvel Jr. who styled Elvis's glistening hair, side parted with a forelock falling over his brow, and sideburns, and the hair growing down his neck. Much later would come Elvis Captain Marvel Jr. cape and lightning bolt emblem of TCB, taking care of business, and TLC, tender loving care jewelry. On the lightning bolt displayed on the tail of Elvis's private airplane, the Lisa Marie is almost identical to the lightning bolt used in the Captain Marvel Jr. series, and the costume and the cape and the stance depicted Elvis Presley in a comic book form. And Rick Stanley says it was the little boy in him coming out that made him want to be a crusader against evil like Captain Marvel. And with a double identity as Freddie Freeman, Captain Marvel Jr. could lead a normal day to day existence. As Captain Marvel Jr., he could fight crime and help make the world safer. To prove my point, I suggest reading the many biographies written since Elvis's death. All too often, stories are repeated. Now, he also did live a double life as a law enforcement agent. He had gotten a lot of police badges and the DEA badge. Now, everyone thought that he was collecting badges, but he really did work in the DEA and as law enforcement cop or sheriff or in the police department somehow, some way. Now, all that proof is in the DEA and the FBI live streams that we did earlier in the year. That's on this page as well in the live streams. So I'm just going to repeat this because she's got it covered here. And Elvis was fascinated with the police. On one occasion, he attended a funeral dressed as a police captain's uniform. On yet another occasion, he wore police captain's uniform to the Memphis recording session. He collected badges, emblems, gums, authoritative identification. He became friends with law enforcement divisions and said to be obsessed with the type of authority a badge and uniform gave. He also been known to go out on drug busts with the police in squad cars and unmarked cars. One time he disguised himself in a padded jumpsuit while wearing a ski mask. And he also said it in his book that he did do drug busts in Miami and Denver after 1977. So he continued with police work then too. He was planning, I guess, to be police officer, but he ended up, according to the Elvis Found Alive, working in the FBI the rest of his years. Behind the scenes in an office in intelligence. But anyway, that's another thing for another day. And the grand coup of it all was going to the White House, the Oval Office, and having President Nixon appoint Elvis Presley a special agent of the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs. So Elvis apparently relished being able to have a second and secret life, a life unknown to those even closest to him. And Maria Columbus, co-president of the Elvis Special, that's the Elvis fan club, a special consultant on this project, put out the following news bulletin. While conducting research for our book Elvis in Print, we have written hundreds of letters since 1981. These were written to fans, photographers, professional writers, and businesses. So it hasn't been unusual for us to uncover a little known photograph and a fact during this time. But the most unusual and very startling information has come from Washington, D.C. itself. We are quoting directly from the correspondence received from the Department of Treasury and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. So during the period in 1974 through 1976, Mr. Presley one provided one of our undercover narcotics agents who was a musician, a cover job or job cover. Mr. Presley confirmed to anyone inquiring, that the agent musician was a member of one of the traveling bands. Although Mr. Presley was not actively involved in any investigation, his assistance in the regard made it possible for our agent to develop a number of quality investigations. So we basically let the FBI agent infiltrate his band to do what he needed to do. But I guess according to Jesse Elvis, he did a little bit more than that, according to the um, Elvis Found Alive documentary. So I do have a clip of that. I don't know if I used that clip or the other one. Let me check. Okay. So this is all I saved for a clip. It's just like an introduction. All
I
right.
led a secret life as a federal drug enforcement agent, and I put my life on the line for America every day. And I ran a strike force that carried out dangerous undercover operations against the Weather Underground terrorists, the Black Panthers, and the Mafia crime families.
Well, then, I don't know where to begin.
So basically he starts with his childhood and all that kind of stuff in that movie. But that's just a basic introduction to the movie. But the movie is basically based on that work that he did after 1977, well, during his time as Elvis, and then after 1977. But that is just enough to admit right there that he was a drug enforcement agent. And I do have 3 or 4 episodes of his involvement with the FBI and the DEA. So anyone who wants to see those after can watch them whenever you want. They're there on the live under the live tab. I'm thinking of trying to change the channel a little so we can access the live videos from the front of the page as well. So maybe I'll work on that um later on, either tonight or tomorrow or something. But anyway, so I'm trying to make this channel a little bit even more accessible so everyone can get to the stuff so they don't have to hunt for it. All right. So it says Elvis was presented with a certificate of appreciation by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms by the regional director of the BATF in 1976. This certification can be seen on display in the trophy room at Graceland. And further information reveals we cannot identify the agent involved, nor willing to elaborate on his undercover role. Most of the files are criminal investigative files and do not mention or involve Mr. Presley. In fact, the fact is, Mr. Presley was not aware of these investigations. All he knew was that our agent needed a cover story, and Elvis confirmed that our agent was a member of the traveling band. Records do not indicate who initiated the contact between Elvis and the agent. So let me repeat the last statement. Records do not indicate who initiated the contact between Elvis and the agent. Okay. So what does this signal? Elvis Presley was connected and working in at least one capacity undercover. We know he was appointed special agent by the President of the United States years earlier. Thus, he contact had to have contact perhaps often. And we also know that special agents are sometimes given a new identity that would include a new driver's license, a passport, and the like. In this case of Elvis, his code name was John Burroughs. And not spelled John, spelled Jon. That's how he used to spell it. If you recall, John Burroughs is the name the reservation clerk and the Miami airport was used by a man with a strong resemblance to Elvis Presley the day after Elvis was supposed to have died. The John Burroughs had picked up the ticket for Buenos Aires, and Elvis therefore had the means to un-Elvis himself, to very easily slide into his new identity, an identity aided by the government. He was a special agent and was not a token. It was not a token of gesture. He also probably had to take on a new identity after that court case that he had on the 15th of August. And he was obviously, he staged his death. He was going to take on a new identity. All right. So Elvis Presley was like Captain Marvel Jr., and John Burroughs was Freddie Freeman. And Elvis was a free man, at least, or was he? Names are important to Elvis, and the name John was a favorite. John Barron was the name Priscilla and he chose if Lisa had been a boy. Barron had the name Aron as part of it. A fan pointed out to me that Priscilla's new son Navarone also has an Aron as part of it. It is understandable why he would use this name if he was alive. So, in addition to Elvis's interest in the comic book image, syndicated columnist Bob Greene announced that Elvis Presley Enterprises Incorporated had hired an illustrator and author to produce a daily comic strip featuring Elvis as the hero. The idea is that Elvis would have the whole new life as a wholesome and palatable comic strip figure. Bob Greene quotes one of the attorneys for the estate as saying, "The cartoon strip was conceived by telling the story of Elvis's career, emphasizing the positive. We want to play up the contribution his music has made on Western society. The strip traces the unbeat aspects of Elvis's career, his beginnings, his rise to fame, his army hitch, movies. I understand that 3 weeks worth of strip had been put together and is with the newspaper syndicate. It appears that no dream is out of reach for Elvis." What does all this add up to? First, there was a personality element of Elvis. From childhood on, he fashioned himself as both Superman and a mortal, Captain Marvel Jr. and Freddie Freeman. He was a man who sought one unorthodox challenge after another, a man with an unusual appetite, a man who related with Jesus, with being a savior, a man extremely kind and generous. As Jerry Hopkins noted in Elvis' final years, Elvis was the Lone Ranger, giving great gifts and then riding away in his Cadillac. According to close friends, Red and Sonny West, as time went on, Elvis treated money with contempt and continually sought innovative ways to give it away. It got to the point where people around him had to be careful not to mention their need for anything, lest Elvis fulfill that need immediately. So what they were telling us here is that he gave a lot of money away, or he spent a lot of money in his last years. And this type of overspending is not only an example of boredom, but I believe that in Elvis's case, he felt guilty about having so much. His religious beliefs found no virtue in having money. He was just as happy with collecting a piece of junk as he was with the item's enormous value, which is displayed in the decor of Graceland. The actual amount of his money mattered less and less to Elvis over the years. Rick Stanley, Elvis's stepbrother, wrote in Elvis, We Love You Tender. Elvis spent his money for fun, to make other people happy, because he was bored, to freak people out. Okay. The Stanley brothers agree Elvis was grateful for his money and worked hard for it, but he was also capable of losing all conception of its meaning, taking it for granted, or holding it almost in contempt. And there was a biblical belief with a karmic nature and effect of money. Elvis gave, says Rick, and the Bible says that what you give, you get back tenfold. And the Bible told him that it was harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And Elvis thought about that quite a bit. He tried never to love money or things for their own sake, and often thought of the Bible adage, He that trusteth in riches shall fall. Thus, the leaving of wealth and the way of life would not have bothered Elvis, but would have freed him and would ultimately allow him into heaven. And with his religious beliefs together with comic book attraction, we then see Elvis's fascination with numerology. August 16, 1977 would be one day that would fit his plans to have another identity, another life. To put the plan into action will require extensive planning. Now, he did say that in his book, that he used August 16th, 1977, did all the numerology for it. We've been over numerology tons of times. So it does match his account in his book. All right, so basically these are the I'm just going to give you a list. She has a bunch of different I want to say planning. So this is what she thought these steps were. To get rid of as many people as possible at the mansion, clean house, which he did. Plan a tour to begin the day chosen as a symbolic beginning and end. It would also achieve a secondary purpose, keeping Graceland clutter-free of musicians and friends. Only a handful would remain, which he basically did. I think only had his daddy, Joe, Al Strada, Ginger, Lisa Marie, and I don't recall anybody else that was there, but maybe a couple other people. That was it. Even had Billy Smith went home, the day earlier in the morning. By having a concert tour planned, there would be an excuse to have records, albums, and souvenirs available. Fake a death using mind over body control. A practice past accomplishment, which we went over earlier in this chapter. Have a wax figure in an air-conditioned coffin put on display to prove Elvis Presley no longer existed. commit no fraud, no insurance would be collected, no legal documents left behind to indicate a death had occurred. To prepare in case of emergency, such as moving grave sites to Graceland, this will prevent bodies being exhumed or kidnapped. Don't tempt fate and spell the name incorrectly on the gravestone. If you're tired of one identity, use another. You could always wear a mask. That's what she's indicating, Orion. And all this supposition, of course, still, if I were to write a script, this would be a way to make it for it to happen. Fantasy? Perhaps. When I was a boy, Elvis Presley said in 1971, I was a hero in the comic books and movies. I grew up believing in a dream. Now I've lived it out. Kind of in a condensed way. She said that. It wasn't exactly everything that he said. So there was a lot here. But yeah. All right. So Francis, hi Francis, how are you tonight? I'm going to bring this down now so I can remove that. All right. I am doing well. Thank you. So Larry Gillen knew this plan. Yes, I think he did. If he didn't know it, he was part of it. He had to be part of it in a way. Okay. She asked me if there's any news on Jesse. No, not that I know of. Since the last post about 2 weeks ago, after the hurricanes. He was okay. I mean, sounded well, she said, but yeah, no. Was Jesse an identical twin? I think it was. I think he was. A lot of people said that he didn't. He wasn't, but Elvis had a connection spiritually to him. So, I'm gonna say I think the only way you can have a spiritual connection with your twin is if he's somewhat identical. He might have not looked exactly like him, but he did look a lot like him. I know twins that are identical, and one might have a little bit different in their face. Other than that, they're the same. Okay. And Sandy says, Miami? OMG. Yes, he did police work in Miami. And then he said in his book also that he was recognized in both Denver and Miami. He had plastic surgery. Even with all the plastic surgery, he was still recognized and they had to move him. And he had to stop police work out on the field. He had to get a job behind a desk, which is where he was in intelligence in the FBI. Hi, Joanne. How are you tonight? All right. Yep. All right. Okay. Any more comments or greetings or anything? Or if not, I'm going to finish this song. Finish this with a song. Please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. I noticed on the analytics the other day that only 50% are subscribed people that watch this channel, and there's 50% that are not. So, any of the 50% that are not subscribed, please subscribe, hit the notifications button, like, favorite, and share this video around. You're very welcome, Francis. Excuse me. And so on Facebook this week, I had done a live on the picture, but I already did that here. So Jesse's picture, so I did a live on that. But I will put one together for the Elvis Found Alive movie, probably after we're done this book. And we're going to do one live on here under Elvis Found Alive. And what Jesse had revealed to Linda Hood Sigmund about it. All right. Okay. So I'm going to finish this and then I'm going to sign off. You guys have a great night. God bless you all. And we'll see you later. Oh, by the way, I do have another channel on this platform, YouTube. It is Joy Filled Life. If you want to look at that, that is my, I guess when you call it, my personal YouTube channel. Actually, I think it's this, but it's not. It's Joy-Filled-Life on YouTube. And that has my daily, I guess when the daily posts, my religious posts, and my DoorDash diaries and some other things I'm interested in. So if anybody's interested, they can come see me there. I'm there every day. Oh, you love my hairpiece? Yeah. Well, I go to the dollar store and I find all kinds of those things and I just pick out ones that I like and I pick some that have the same colors. So I can wear green with the green and pink with the pink and different shades. This one doesn't have like one of those things though on it, like hold, like a comb thing. I call it a comb thing. The other one that I have a pink one, or it comes out purple on the camera for some reason, has that. But I put this here because my hair gets woo if it's so I tied it back today in a ponytail. And I put this here so it doesn't get in my face and all that kind of thing. All right. Okay, so let's finish with the song, and you guys have a great day. Okay? All right.
Whether we'll survive is gonna take some time. Poor heart is down to me and you.
So do you?
Poor heart, don't stop breathing. Poor heart,
My hair
don't
is
stop
wired.
breathing.
And I mean, it's got, long. Weird long. Like, sometimes it's bushy. And sometimes it curls. It was kind of like, I don't know, the weather was kind of weird and I just put it up.
You gotta be strong, gotta hang on. Poor heart, I won't be long.
Ah,
Tears will go away.
yeah. Well, it's now $1.25.
I didn't know
That was there $1.
you dare blame me. Poor heart, I'll put it
They have a
through
lot
the
of hair stuff. There you go. You gotta go there. It's cheaper than Walmart. And you get better selection.
Poor heart, don't stop making a scene.
Tons of them.
I know things are getting better. Two in this together. Poor heart, don't start breaking. Poor heart, don't start making a scene.
All right, guys. God bless y'all. Good night. Bye.